I want to bring in a veteran airline voice to join this conversation. We've got former Spirit Airlines CEO and JetBlue board member Ben Baldanza. He is also the co-host of Airline Confidential's podcast with friend of the show, Seth Kaplan. Good morning to you. The big debate, do the airlines deserve, I don't know if deserve is the right even word, a bailout, and how should it be structured, Ben?
Well, great to be with you guys, and thanks for having me. I think money from the government at this point does make sense for the industry, and let me tell you why. The industry has invested in its people, in its airplanes, in lots of ways, and right now, with almost no revenue coming in fact, in some cases, net revenue coming in because there are more cancellations than bookings right now, the ability to keep people employed and stay solvent is not really there. And so the reason that the industry really is looking for grants here or even loans is to protect workers, to be able to pay employees through this time when there's virtually no revenue, when we're on a year-over-year basis, we're looking at 75 to 80% reduction in bookings. Without this, the industry would have to lay off people because it would have to reduce costs without the revenue coming in.
Right. Ben, it seems to me, and tell me if you think I'm wrong here, that the airlines may have made a mistake insofar as it appears, at least given the politics, that they are asking for something different than what everybody else is getting. And if you really think about the grant as debt forgiveness, right, if they had been basically categorized like everybody else and everybody else who is going to be struggling throughout this, I don't think there would be a debate in this country about whether to help them relative to the small business.
That's a fair point. However, I think it's really the timing issue. The loans would take more time to process. It would take longer. Being able to stay fully solvent through that period might be a challenge. I think the grant is a quick way to sort of make that happen. I also think that since it's specifically to protect workers and the industry has been open to sort of any conditions that might want to be put on that around executive pay or no share buybacks or things like that with, that this money just goes to workers. And the industry has also been talking about loans as well to sort of fund operations during this time period. The other thing that makes the industry different, I think, is the enormous multiplier effect of the industry. The industry not only employs indirectly lots of things, but it drives the economy. An investment in transport in general, and airlines in specific, is really an investment in getting the economy restarted.
Ben, but let me ask you this. As you may know, I want to throw money at everything because I look at this as a natural disaster, and I believe that everybody is a victim of this situation, and we need to wrap this country, the economy at least, in some kind of blanket across the board. The issue, I think, specifically politically right now is that the airlines are asking for a very specific and special deal to them relative to every other industry in the country. And because of that, you have all sorts of people mostly on the left saying, you guys spent all this money on buybacks, you're irresponsible, this, that, and the other thing. And so the question is sort of how you think this debate is going to ultimately end because of that.
Well, I realize that there's a lot of political expediency in certain arguments that are made about things. But facts are facts. And since 2010, the industry has invested almost $140 billion, 73% of its operating cash flow, back into the product, new airplanes, technology, facilities, and such, and has retired $90 million in debt. And so to talk about fiscal irresponsibility of the industry is kind of crazy when the industry has done a lot of good things and protected.
But Ben, do you believe the shareholder, do you believe the taxpayers should get warrants or something else so that they can participate in the upside of these airlines in the future? If they're going to bail them out, and it's going to be a specific bailout to the airlines? Do you think that shareholders should be completely protected if the goal is really to keep the planes in the air and have the multiplier effect that you're talking about and keep employees on payroll? I mean, I think this is why it becomes more complicated since they're not asking to be part of the sort of larger program that would apply to everybody.
I see that point. I think the airlines are different because of that multiplier and because of the enormous employment that goes along with them as well. Because of the way the airlines work and because they have people in every state all across the country, right, and because they're buying product from American companies, not only in the airplanes themselves, but in all the equipment and things like that, they are.
And you bail out the shareholders. Just to be clear, you'd bail out the shareholders because that's what's on offer here, to bail out the shareholders specifically.
That's a way to think of it, but I don't think it is bailing out the shareholders because, as you know, airline multiples have taken a huge hit, and I don't think the market is going to benefit the airlines in terms of increasing their multiple because of money from the government. They're going to stock investors to increase that multiple for the airline industry, which is what investors want. That's going to happen when the airlines are producing positive cash flow again, not getting money from taxpayers. So I don't see airline equities increasing as a result of this. What I see is the airlines.
Delta is worth over $20 billion. It would be worth zero. It would be worth zero today if you didn't believe the government was going to step in. It'd be worth zero. So this is very much going to be.
Well, they'd be worth zero except for money they make through Delta Tech Ops and their credit card and things like that. You're right. I mean, the flying people today is not a profitable business because people aren't flying. So the issue is what's the right policy to do to keep things alive until we're out of this curve again and people are flying and working again.
Fair enough. Ben, it's great to have you on the program. We really appreciate it. Thanks so very much.
Great to meet you guys. Thank you.